Hello, book lovers, and welcome to Book Talk Radio Club. My name is Claire Perkins, and today I'm talking to author Ralph E. Jarrells, who was a finalist in Book Talk Radio Club's 2020 awards. Ralph Jarrells entered the field of writing novels late in his life. He is 76 years old. He retired from corporate America 10 years ago and began an award-winning video production company that specialized in creating video programs for ministry and mission organizations. So far, his work has received 28 international creative awards. His first novel, Ill-Gotten Gain, was published in 2017. Fiery Red Hair, Emerald Green Eyes and a Vicious Irish Temper is a story of Anne Bonny, the first female pirate, as told by Anne to her granddaughter, and is one of the books that was picked for the finals. Hello Ralph, first of all congratulations on being picked as a finalist in Book Talk Radio Club's 2020 awards.
Thank you.
Ralph, would you like to give Book Talk Radio Club's listeners a brief synopsis of Fiery Red Hair, Emerald Green Eyes and a Vicious Irish Temper?
Happy to, Claire. Actually, it's the story of Anne Bonny, the first female pirate, but it's more a fictional autobiography, and she is telling her granddaughter some years after she was a pirate what her life was like, because the daughter asked her, said she had heard so many stories, she wanted to get the truth. And so Anne Bonny commenced to start with her life story, with her and her granddaughter sitting on the front porch of their house in Charleston, South Carolina.
So who was Anne Bonny and how did she... Sorry.
Go ahead.
So who was Anne Bonny and how did she start pirating?
Well, Anne Bonny was born as Anne Cormack in Kinsale, Ireland, around 1699, and in the research there was no clear single date, but that's one that most people agreed to. She moved to Charlestown, South Carolina with her father and her mother when she was 2. She was a tomboy the whole time, but her mother, as a young child, her mother died because of a fever, and she never understood why, and so she became a problem child, I guess it would be called today. At age 8, she was disciplined because she beat up a 12-year-old boy that was picking on her and one of her friends. Actually beat him so bad that he was out of school for 2 weeks. At age 15, she married a pirate, James Bonny, and they moved to the Bahamas. And some 3 or 4 years later, she left Bonny and became a full-blown pirate and was the second in command to Calico Jack Rackman and his ship.
She was the first female pirate and amongst 5 of the most notorious female pirates, including Mary Read, Cheng Ai Sao, Grace O'Malley and Rachel Wall. Do you see yourself writing any more novels about pirating, or is this a one-off? I mean, I love it.
It was going to be just a single novel until my wife and I, my son and daughter-in-law, went to Kinsale, Ireland, just to see a little bit more about and experience a little more about Anne Bonny. When we were there, we found, Donna found a placard saying where Anne Bonny was born, so we took a picture of my wife and I in front of it, and there were at least a dozen orbs that showed up in that picture.
Okay.
Now I've never experienced that and had no idea what the meaning for orbs or any of that was. But I did decide to look it up, and apparently people who believe in orbs believe that is a means for people from the spirit world to contact the live world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took that to believe that there were some more stories to be told. So we also went ahead and we found her grave, which is over there. And so the current novel, the number 2, is about Anne Bonny. Actually is designed to bring the story from her era to the current time, and also to reveal Anne's secret, which she had done so only before she died, or as she died.
Let's talk about the reason behind writing and publishing Fiery Red Hair, Emerald Green Eyes and Vicious Irish Temper. You say in the foreword of the book that the story was told to you as absolute truth by an elderly English lady who had spent many years living in Charleston, South Carolina. Would you like to elaborate?
Happily, Mrs. Herbert was the mother of probably one of my best friends in Columbia. And she and her husband moved to Charleston when he was assigned, he was in the Royal Navy.
Okay.
And he was assigned to be liaison with the 6th Naval District in Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
So that got them here, and one evening we had dinner and we were sitting around a nice fireplace, and I was telling the story of what I was going to write, Ill-Gotten Gain, and Miss Herbert said, "Why don't you write a story about Anne Bonny?" And I said, "Who is that?" And she told me the story, and it was a surprise to me because I had lived in South Carolina most of my life, and actually had worked for the state for a number of years and had never heard anything about it. Now, I know she's a little more popular now thanks to black sales and a renewed interest in pirates thanks to our friends from Pirates of the Caribbean. But it was an opportunity to open a door that I didn't know existed. And so that was really I wrote the first novel. I asked my publisher, what should I do now? I've written the first novel. He said, write the second one. And so Anne Bonny, Fiery Red Hair, Emerald Green Eyes, and The Vicious Irish Temper became the second novel.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Anne Bonny's time was during the golden age of pirating. What was the golden age of pirating?
Well, actually, the golden age of piracy started in the early 1600s and is clinically the 1650 to about 1730. And that was the age when piracy was fully operative in the Caribbean Sea. Anne Bonny was there right at the end of it. She was only a pirate for 3 years before she was captured.
Oh, okay.
And so, and that was right at the end. And the end of the golden age of piracy was when Blackbeard was captured. That was what researchers or educators say is the end of the golden age of piracy.
And films about pirates, of course, have become very popular recently with the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I think they became so popular because there's a kind of romanticism behind the idea. Would you agree?
I agree, absolutely. Hollywood has glamorized pirating.
Yeah.
But the problem is that that's probably, or at least through my research, that is so far away from the truth, it's unbelievable. You know, the ships were built for speed, not for comfort. They had a tendency to be dirty. The ports that the pirates used, Nassau in the Bahamas at that time, was actually more mud than dirt, and there was no sanitation. And you know, and then pirates as long as they could buy a drink or have someone provide the drink for them, they were happy to do, to live in nothing.
Mm. Mm.
And so that's more the truth than the stories that we see. The other part of it is the everyday life of a pirate was absolutely boring because they did virtually nothing on the ship until they found another ship to hijack.
Mm.
So, not very glamorized.
They seem to be extremely superstitious, especially in the films. Was that true for pirates in real life as well? Were they a superstitious lot?
Yes, actually, their real life was extremely superstitious. There was so very much that was just not done. First of all, there were no women on the ships. That was considered bad luck.
Right.
Anne Bonny was obviously, Anne Bonny and Mary Read were the exceptions to that rule.
Mm.
There was no whistling. That was considered bad luck.
Oh, really?
So, and Red Sky, you may have heard the poem Red Sky at Night, Sailor Delight,
Yeah.
Red Sky in the morning, Sailor take warning.
Mm.
And that meant that if there was a red sky at night, then there was going to be good weather for the next day.
Yeah.
And conversely, if they got up and it was red sky in the morning, that was going to be bad weather and so bad sailing. Another superstitious thing, they would never say good luck. That was considered bad luck to say had good luck to you or whatever. And the final ones, which I found interesting, considering how non-religious you would think pirates would be, but a pirate would not sail on Friday. A pirate ship would not sail on Friday.
Okay.
And that was because Jesus was crucified on Friday.
Okay.
They would not sail on the first Monday in April because traditionally that was when Cain killed Abel. And the third one is they wouldn't sail on the second Monday in August because they said that was the day that Sodom and Gomorrah was burned.
Wow.
So you never consider religious foundation to be anything about pirates, but apparently there were.
And they were also an extremely bloodthirsty bunch, weren't they? In fact, I think the female pirates were more so than their male counterparts. Something to prove, perhaps?
Yes, I think they had to. The female pirate had to prove their worthiness
Yeah.
to the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that, they had to perform better than their male counterparts. And so they were much more vicious, much more bloodthirsty. And even when Anne Bonny was captured, Anne and Mary were with Jack Rackham and his crew, and the male crew stayed below deck, and the two women got out and fought to keep the captors from getting them.
Right.
And it's traditional that Anne said to Jack Rackham as he was being taken off the ship, if you had fought like a man, you wouldn't be dying like a dog. So,
ouch.
yeah.
So who is the book aimed at? In other words, who is your target reading audience for this book?
You know, I would hope that the audience is anybody who is interested in reading, and I hope I write well enough to make it interesting to anybody who would take the time to open the book. But I think it would have to be the target audiences, women in general, and history buffs in general.
Why did you decide to write the book with Anne telling the story of her life to her granddaughter rather than just a biography?
Well, that was just for me. I felt like in Ill-Gotten Gain that I was not capable in doing a good job writing dialogue.
Right.
And so it's, again, it's my impression of myself in that. But to me, the only way to improve that is to challenge it. So I made the second novel totally an autobiography and totally out of the mouth or as told by Anne Bonny.
Now, how much research did it take to tell Anne's story? Was it easy to find accounts of her pirating life?
There was not a great deal of research, very little documentation on the actual life of Anne Bonny. She is mentioned in a couple of sort of generic omnibus books about pirates in the Caribbean. And then other than that, any book that you find that is technically about Anne Bonny is most likely fiction. But what I did was to find the research, all of it that I could, and then also do the research on the side stories, what it was like what was life like in Charlestown, South Carolina in the 1700s, what was life in Nassau in the 1700s, Jamaica in 1700s, and what was the general life of a pirate like. And then I allowed my imagination to move from that and create the story and the environment.
I think she was a woman before her time and would have fit very easily into the 21st century. Strong-willed, powerful, and as well as the first female pirate, a very good businesswoman. Would you agree?
Yes, the odd part about that, Claire, is that the original working title for the book, Fiery Hair, Emerald Green Eyes, and the Vicious Irish Temper, was A Woman Ahead of Her Time. That's what I wrote under until I realized that the hook for the story had to be that she was Irish and therefore had a temper.
You're already receiving good reviews for Fiery Red Hair, Emerald Green Eyes, and a Vicious Irish Temper, including, "The book is so good and so well written by Ralph. I felt that I was experiencing her life through his eyes. I can almost smell the warm sea air of the Caribbean. Praise indeed, Ralph, and personally I absolutely love the book." So where can Book Talk Radio Club's listeners purchase Fiery Red Hair, Emerald Green Eyes, and a Vicious Irish Temper?
Well, first of all, I'm happy that anyone would take the time out of their life to read words that I wrote. That is an unbelievable compliment to me. I guess I'm happy that people are interested in the story and interested in reading it. And I'm pleased that the reviewers have taken the opportunity to say that it was good. I don't think I'd care if they said it was bad, but I am happy if they say it's good.
And so where can they buy the book?
Well, the best advice I can give them is I call my publisher and say, where is it available? He said, Amazon, anywhere in the world, and booksellers in UK, Europe, and Australia.
Fantastic.
So he's pretty certain that in addition to being able to buy the book in the US, that the UK, Europe, and Australia, it's all available there for sure.
Wonderful. All right, well, thank you, Ralph. That was great. Once again, congratulations on being picked as a finalist in Book Talk Radio Club's 2020 awards. Thank you everyone for listening to Book Talk Radio Club. Lovely to speak to you, Ralph.
Thank you so much, Claire. And listen, for all of the authors that you represent or that are included in the book competition, I want to say thank you for what you do and representing them as well as my own interests. You've made it possible for our stories to be in the mind of people around Europe, around the UK, around the world for that matter. And we appreciate that, and thank you very much.
And I appreciate that too. Thank you so much, Ralph. That's so nice. That's lovely. You have a good time away, and we will speak soon. Bye now.
Bye now.
Bye.